designer developer working with Unity and VR and AR at a studio, but a lot of the work that I do is commercial, and it's pretty limited in the amount of exploring you can do because you constantly have to deliver. So I read this book a while ago called The One Thing, about what's like the one thing, figuring out what the one thing you want to do is and how you can work towards that every day. And for me, it's really just like getting more magic powers, which means going beyond the pale and breaking through the doors of digital perception and just exploring and fucking around. So I try and do a bit of like exploration outside of my comfort area. At the moment, I'm focusing on design and visual stuff, because that's I've focused so much on technical, mechanical stuff for the past few years that I want to explore how to like convey story and create emotion and things like that. So I've been trying to do that every day. That sort of creative development. I've coined the term. Well, I haven't coined the term. I've used two words that exist to try and do that every day. It's been a couple years deep. The result of that last year was the digging simulator. So anyone that follows my just incessant posting on Twitter, you may or may not have seen this. Hang on, let me just... So yeah, this was like playing around with the idea of a mechanic. Like what's something you can only do in VR, what's something that would be fun and interesting to do. And at the time I didn't have a yard, and I was like, it'd be really fun to be able to dig. I've given myself a thumbs down. I might take that back. Anyway, so at the moment I'm working on Touchy Feely. I didn't plan to do such a high energy intro, but I guess here we are. So what we have been doing, is working along with the artist Dirk at Work. I'm going to keep calling him that because I don't know anything else about him apart from the fact that he's, Nordic-ish. So he is an incredible artist who I actually reference in my concept doc. This guy here, incredible. The other artist being, hang on, I think I need to, the other artist being someone named Mark. I'm gonna drag that out until I find the name. I'm gonna copy and paste these here. Hang on. Dirk at Work. Twitter's just like, you're going to Dirk at Work's page again. Alright, that's cool. Alright. This guy, Matthew Lyons. He's like an illustrator. Also does some 3D stuff. I don't really know how, but I really want to like use Dirk at Work's like 3D workflow to kind of get this sort of, but like tap into this like geometric, sort of retro futurism kind of situation. So yeah, that's about where we're up to. Where we're going, I do not know. No, I do know exactly. So Dirk has kindly shared a bunch of resources, which I'll share somewhere. And I'm going to... yesterday what we did was we got the... we got like a diorama mesh set. Basically, it looks like this. Here we go. Here's the video. Hang on, I'll bring up I'll bring up my Twitter, wade through the 15 posts. I had like 3 wines yesterday, so I just was like, I'm just going to post like a mad person. Imagine anyone's looking at my like this video right now and it's like, is he scrolling Twitter? Alright, here we go. So this is this is where we got to yesterday. And now we're going to do it in Blender. So basically I'm going to hand the mic over to Dirk. He's an unintentional, unwitting guest host on the show. Make sure you stick around for tonight's show, The Graveyard Shift with Sandy and Gouds. Here they're 2 crazy characters as well. And before I do that, has anyone got any questions? Okay, all right. Close all that, That's pretty good. Let me go to chat. Open in browser. I can just put that somewhere else. Alrighty. The chat is waiting for new messages. 0 viewers. Alright, that is very comforting. Alright. Take it away, Dirk. One thing that I'm doing differently is I am going to try and follow along in Blender, though he's using Maya, so this could be an absolute just non-starter. But I really want to figure this out. So apparently it's really just the UV painting. How long is this? 1 hour. All right, let's fucking just do it.
So we've exported our 3D model from Gravity Sketch, which gave us a zip file.
All right, I haven't even done that bit yet. Gravity Sketch, where does it go? Gravity Sketch. Exported sketches. Dirk export. Extract all. You know what? Yeah, why not? Just leave it here. Yep. Dirk export. Does that work? No. Okay, cool. So Blender's had a massive upgrade. I sucked at it before and stuck at it now, so I'm only parroting what other people have said, but apparently it's a lot better, and that's why I didn't want to, like, I'm all right with Blender, so I didn't want to, like, learn Maya for one step. I'd like to keep, I'm a big supporter of Blender as well. Just like open source software is probably the most radical thing you can do in digital media. I would go as far as to say that open source is punk rock. Alright. Before we start, I'm going to get another coffee. Alright. Pull the band-aid off. It's time to do it. Let's do it to it.
Unzip that folder, and then we import the OBJ in your 3D modeling software. For me it's 3D Max, and I'm gonna show you, do a quick run through of how I prepare the models before I open them in Substance Painter. Let me get rid of the grid and show my wireframe, and bring up the material editor. It's exported the materials we created in Gravity Sketch, which gives you 12 different materials. If we were to import this directly into Unity, it would give us 12 draw calls, which would be very inefficient. This is not what we want. I'm going to create a generic material. Let's call it Flora Tutorial for now.
All right, step 1. Let's figure out, I ran up and down the stairs. Let's figure out how to see the material view in the way that Dirk just did. So here's, are these materials or are these objects? materials. All right. Hang on. I'll do my searching on this side to keep things neat. See materials in Blender. How to show textures. I can't see materials. Look, we'll see. This might be a fool's errand. Fuck, that's cool. I love wireframes. I remember like when I first started getting into like VR stuff. And just like, not even VR, like 3D. And just remember like being inside like this little astronaut kind of creature I was making, and I was just like looking at the expanse of its innards, and yeah, it just blew my mind.
Let's make it pink.
Okay, so.
And now it all has the same material.
Okay, first I want to give everything the same material. Let's see if we can figure that out. These all look like materials to me. Delete material. Alright, let's just create a new material. New material, okay. We'll call it tutorial. And we'll make it pink. Okay, cool. I'm excited because the last time I tried to do this, I didn't even know what the difference between a material and a texture. Like, this was years ago. And since then I've just like had to learn this kind of stuff from the other end, basically. It's pretty exciting.
Now what I want to do
hang on.
Is
put it on everyone. So let's see, one of these objects. Oh, they're all one objects. Okay. Standard. Alright, remove. I'm hoping I gotta remove these. Now what do I do? How do I give it that? Assign? Okay. So I've got my tutorial material. I've removed all the other ones. Alright, no, this is fine. Put material on object Blender. Select the part of the mesh you want to add the material to. Click the plus icon on the right side of material. O2 shown in the image below. Create a new material. Let's just click assign button in the materials under the list of materials. Assign. I did do that, didn't I? It's the children that are wrong. I saw this tutorial label here and I was like, oh, maybe that'll tell me what to do. That's the name of the material, dummy. Preview. Oh wow, Blender's way better than it used to be. It just looks nicer. It looks cool. Oops. Oh. Nope. New material. Okay. Maybe that was like a sub material or something. Okay, I can handle this though. Tutorial material. Alright. How do I give it color? Surface, here we go. Pink. Okay, that didn't work. This might take a while, folks. Thankfully I sort of know how to do the UV unwrapping, which I think is the main bit, so it's actually this bit that confuses the heck out of me. Protect me. Alright. Maybe I'm just not rendering right. Hey, I just wasn't rendering right. That's weird. I feel like they've made the controls slightly closer to Unity. Definitely feels like it's easier to rotate. I remember I used to have to like know all these steaming hotkeys. Glasses. Alright, time to go into luxury vision. Oh yeah. Okay, cool.
Give it about the right scale, and for this it's important that your unit is give it about the right scale, and for this it's important that your unit setup in 3ds Max is set to centimeters.
Unit setup, Blender. Set up units and measurements in Blender. Alright. This might take a while, folks.
Stuff like that, we want to have exact real world measurements. So to do this, all we have to do is go to our Scenes tab and go down to Units. And you can see here are some presets. And we want to go to Length. And under Length here, you can either make it imperial or metric.
Alright. Scenes. I don't know why I always have to do things the hard way. Probably because I had a tough childhood. Scenes. Nope. Units. Units. I guess that's one unforeseen result of them changing. Oh, here we go. This looks very... Here we go. Units. Metric. Length in... What did Dirk say? You must have it in...
I usually have
centimeters.
the display unit scale set to centimeters and the system unit setup set to that as well. Let's give this measurement tool a height of 170, which would be about average person height. And then I want to it's set to that as well. Is give it about tutorial, let's call it Flora tutorial for now, and let's make it pink. And now it all has the same material. Now what I want to do is...
All right. Is what, Dirk? I watched my like 5 minutes of the stream yesterday where I was listening to Dirk, and I thought I was like would talk too much. I think I could have talked more. I think I could basically pretend that me and Dirk are hanging out and we're like really good friends. I could like edit it, so I'd be like, oh, what do you think of this, Dirk? And he'd be like, all right, good job, Sam. Fuck, quarantine. It's been going for a while, hasn't it? Losing the plot. Okay, so I'm looking, okay, measuring tool, blender, maybe set scale. Fuck, this is gonna take a while. Metric. Ruler, protractor, here we go. Tools. Grease pencil. Oh yeah, I really want to play around with the grease pencil. Layout. Oh, here we go. Cool. Cool, alright. I guess this would, so for anyone that would be watching at home for some reason, oh no. The measuring tool that Dirk just used was this thing here, measuring tool. Okay, cool.
Give it about the right scale, and for this it's important that your unit setup in 3ds Max is set to centimeters. I usually have the display unit scale set to centimeters and the system unit setup set to that as well. Let's give this measurement tool a height of 170, which would be about average person height. And then I want to scale this up to where I feel it's about right. Something like this. This is not a huge tree. Most importantly, because we can always scale it later on in Unity, more importantly is the scale that these objects have with regard to each other, because the smaller they are now, the harder it will be to scale them up a lot later on, because of course then the texture resolution will suffer. But I think the individual scale is good like this. Now it's all one object, and the reason for that is because there's this thing that I do when I'm UVW unwrapping in 3ds Max that crashes if these are separate objects that share the UV map. So we're going to go through the whole unwrapping part, and then at the end we're going to detach these objects. But that's just something that cool. Might be fixed in the newer version of 3ds Max, but for now I know I have to do it like this. So now we know that the scale is about right. I go into edit poly mode, select vertices, Control A to select them all, and I just want to make sure that even though weld vertices was on when we exported it from Gravity Sketch, I just want to make sure that it didn't miss anything. And let me put this threshold very small, 1/10 of a millimeter, in fact.
So yeah, I kind of know some of this stuff, but to see like the order of like how someone that knows what they're doing does it. First make a vertex, edge of face, space selection, and then from the vertex menu click merge. Merge means weld, I guess. How to weld. I want to weld. Alright. Merge. Ooh. That's not right. Vertex. Merge vertex. What does that do? It doesn't seem right. What happened? Nothing really. I might just give that the old 1-2 Control Z. Because I don't 100% know what that will do later.
And it shows me that even then there are quite a few vertices that need to get welded. So these are actually on top of each other, and it's gonna okay this. So any vertices that were not connected together.
Cool. So merge by distance, I guess,
now.
is welding.
A reason could be that I didn't connect them properly in Gravity Sketch, and Gravity Sketch will only weld vertices. It will not look at a threshold, but it will actually only weld them if they're on exactly the same spot. So if they're a very small space apart, it will not weld them. At least that's what I know about it at the moment. Okay, we've welded the vertices. This is important because if you start UV unwrapping, you will see in your unwrap maps when certain vertices have not been welded. But we won't need to deal with that because we fixed it for now. Okay, so I'm gonna add a unwrap UVW modifier. Open the UV editor, which I usually have on a second screen, but because I'm capturing, I'll move it around a bit to make it visible. I go into edge selection and I pretty much use the edge flow of the objects to create the light map seams. Now you want to create as little light map seams as possible, and where possible, create them in spaces where they're a little harder to see, but there will always be moments where, for example with this tree, I cannot escape the fact that I will have to create a long vertical light seam along the trunk here. It's going to be hard otherwise to unwrap this piece of geometry properly. So I'll create these, select these edges, do multi-select with holding in Control, select these edges like this. I'll select the cross section just below these branches. I could make some branches part of this UV unwrap, but I think I'm just gonna unwrap the trunk and then do the branches in kind of a similar way. So make sure you go all the way around.
All right. So I actually kind of know how to do this, which is good. Maybe, hang on. So I'm holding shift to select the vertices. What I'm going to want to do, I'm pretty sure, is go mark seam. Alright, what's next, Durkee?
And with these edges selected, I go to this button, which is Convert Edge Selection to Seams.
Alright, so in UV World, sorry, not UV World, in Blender World, that's, so you go up to UV Editing, and then you go UV, and then you go Mark Seam. And that should be, nope, didn't work, fuck. Alright, maybe, here we go. So, okay, alright, so I've opened a new like UV situation here, which I'm not actually using, I'm not active in. I don't know if anyone remembers the old Blender. I don't know if they've fixed this, but like constantly accidentally opening like fractal small new windows in like, because each time you'd click in this one spot, it would like open a new window and then you couldn't close it. Maybe I just sucked at it. Probably. How do I live without you? Maybe I lay out. Oh. Okay. Oh, cool. Alright. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Oh, so this is just a UV view. Alright, cool. But, yeah, so it's, anyway, select those and then go UV mark scene.
I click it and they turn blue.
Goes red in Blender.
These will be your light seams. Now I go into polygon mode in my unwrap UVW modifier, select the polygon, then go to this button, expand polygon selection to seams. It will expand the selection and stop where you've created the seams. Now if you by accident forgot to
what do these do? Number of cuts, offset, click extrude. Expand selection to seam Blender. Select one of your seams in edit mode, then press Shift G. All seams at once. Shift G. Select similar polygon size. Nope. Shift G, normal, flat, smooth, face regions. Nope. Shift G, area. Nope. Whatever. I've got another way to do it. Good old fashioned. Oh. Chestnut. This fucking. What have I done? I've like animated a fucking little noodle. I don't want that. I've made a mistake. Oh, here we go. So in Blender, you can press Z to change whether you see the skin or the wireframe. When you've got the right wireframe, you can then select through the wireframe, and then additively select the rest. Probably. Nope. Alright, so it's probably a faster way to do that, but whatever. Oh no. Alright, so we've got everything selected as per
or I've got one of these edges, your whole object will turn red, and you know you messed up and you need to go in and close it all off. That's pretty straightforward. Now this all is selected, then you go to this little animal hide looking button here. It's called the pelt map. You click that, and now this is the button where if I had kept these as individual objects but still sharing the same unwrap UVW modifier, it would have crashed right now. So this is why we're going to detach him at the end. I'm going to hit start belt, and there it unwrapped the trunk for me. But now the UVs are stretching quite a bit, and that's why we have this button. And this button, the start relax button, tries to bring it back into a shape that's a little closer to the original 3D object. We can commit this, and we.
Alright, so I think in Blender it's just unwrap. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's get it facing the same way. Okay, don't do that. Oh yeah. In Blender, if you select everything and then you, what is it? Rotate is R. What is? There's also look at G is move. Oh yeah, it's all coming back. S is scale. Cool. It's funny. I was like, how do I move it? But my hand had already started doing it.
We've created our first UV island, I think it's called. I can select element to make sure I select that whole thing and just move it out of the way. And then basically I do the same for all these branches. Let me first do one of these spheres. Now here I might want to select an edge that might be a little less visible. I'm selecting them manually and adding in selection by holding down Control. What I can also do for this particular shape is select these three and then hit this loop button, and it will loop until it branches off. And I think these three as a light map seam will be enough to unwrap this whole shape. So let's see if I'm correct. Hit the convert edge selection to seam. They turn blue. Polygon mode, select a polygon, expand that selection. And now this is what we want. We wanted to select the entire sphere. Go.
Expand selection to seam Blender. Oh, that's spicy. So many hotkeys. Okay, cool. Well, let's practice doing that. But for now, UV, what's it called? Pelt. Holy shit, that looks cool. Some sacred geometry shit going on. All right.
To the pelt map button, start pelts, and it's looking a little weird, so let's see what happens when we hit the start relax button. Yes. So that's kind of untangled those vertices in the middle. There will be some stretching
Is Blender
with
better
this,
than Maya?
but because I know that I'm not gonna be using very complicated textures on these shapes, this is okay for me. And I like the fact that it's just one little UV island for this one shape. Now I'm just going to go in and do different parts. I'm not going to bore you with unwrapping the whole thing. I might speed that up at the end of the video. Okay, so we're going forward with the second object. Kind of a plant. I'm going to do one of these leaves here. Now something that I've noticed is in the tip of this object kind of a funky geometry. There's 2 quads and 2 on the bottom that are kind of stretched, and I already know that's not going to unwrap properly. Normally what I would want to do is just select just this edge on the side. Oops. And if I had fixed that tip correctly, that would have been enough. And I would not have created, I would not have needed to create a light map seam on the other side, so it would just have unwrapped in one UV island, which is what I want. That's not going to work now. Now there are 2 things that I can do. One thing is I might want to try to still keep it one UV island. I'll go around the tip just a little, convert them to light map seams, go into polygon, expand, the whole object turns red, which is what we want. Then hit the pelt map. Now it looks like it's pelting okay, but as soon as we're gonna hit the start relax button, it's gonna try to turn these stretched UVs into something that is more similar to the actual object, and there we're gonna run into some problems because these tips are not really, they're gonna continue to struggle. Now we can go in, if we would want to, we can go in and commit and go into vertex mode, select these, oops, make sure your element is unselected. Select these vertices and move them up, spread these around, and you know, make them fit. But it's kind of a lot of work, and because I know that this shape is not going to have very complex textures, and not going to have like little dots or little shapes where you're going to really see the UV stretching. It's just going to be basically one color with a soft gradient. Then it doesn't really matter that these UVs are a little stretched. So what I would prefer to do here is just go back to expand polygon selection to seams, hit the pelt map, and just leave it like that. Not hit the start relax button. For the purposes of this shape, this UV map, although not totally proper, but it's gonna work, and you know, you got to think a little practical. And also I'm a bit lazy, but don't tell anybody. A different way we could do it,
Me too, buddy.
let me just show you, is create 2 different UV islands. So I'll just take another leaf and select one edge, hit the loop, and it's going to go all the way around, convert it to seams, and now we just pelt these sides one by one. And I didn't expect this, but now even still the point is a little messed up. Well, in this case we're just gonna do it the way I did it before. Now let's say, this might be a good thing to show you as well, I want to undo some light map seams here. I have a little problem focusing because it's one big object. I'll just go into edit seams, the little button with the pencil here, and then as I hold down Alt, I click these edges, and they're not light seams anymore. And like before, think I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna give it a little, let it go a little past that point. Make sure you undo these seams. This is also a way, if you keep this selected, you can immediately turn edges into light map seams if you just click them. But I really love to do the edge selection first and then convert the whole selection into a seam, because as I'm selecting, I'm kind of figuring out what's gonna work for unwrapping and what's not gonna work. So I select it, expand that selection again, and the same as the other one, just do the pelt map and leave it like this, not do the relax. And of course it's going to be like a similar shape to this. Now let me unwrap this middle part. The top is kind of like a little sphere. So there, I probably just want to have these edges selected and, oh, whoops. Hold down Control to multi-select. Now, as I have these selected, I can just hit the loop button because I know these edges are not going to loop. I'm not totally sure, but I think I can just hit the loop button now, and yeah, it's just gonna loop down. And I think that this will be all I need.
Anyone that's using Blender to do that like island-based UV selection, make your seams, select a face, hover over it, and then press L. That will allow you to select the UV island as shown here.
Let's convert them to light map seams. Pelt. And let's see if we run into trouble here. Yeah, it seems to be a little tight around the neck. Well, what do I want to do here? Let's go in and just to show you how that works, I'm just gonna fix these vertices, because I do think I want to give this little ball at the top a different material, and the less my UV stretch, the more predictable my results will be. I just go in and make sure I select only those vertices and move them up. Kind of lay them out in a more or less logical way.
Oh yeah.
And then you just...
So to switch between edge and vertex selection.
You gotta remember that.
To switch between edge, vertex, and face selection is the number keys 1, 2, and 3. Shit.
There's always going to be some UV stretching. It is actually kind of impossible to take a 3D shape and perfectly unfold it in two-dimensional space. This is why you, for example, a map of the globe, there are all these different ways of projecting that 3D shape into a 2D map. In some, Antarctica looks way bigger, for example, than in others. This is just because you have to make some choices. So it's good to keep in mind what the purpose of this model is and what you're planning on doing with it and when creating materials. Of course, when you want realism and you want lots of details, you're gonna have to spend a lot of time making sure it's as perfect as possible. Okay, this should work. Now sometimes, because now I've kind of given a suggestion as how I would want this to be laid out. What I sometimes try to do then is, oops, that's just not good. I'm gonna try to relax it. Sometimes it works, but it doesn't now. So, okay, let's leave it like this.
I feel you, buddy.
Now these other leaves I would do in the similar way that I've done these. And now I move ahead to this shape. Also, not a very easy shape because it's organic, doesn't have any hard edges, doesn't have any likely candidates for light map seams.
Oh boy.
And it's kind of hard to do it
Let's just
in your mind. So I'm just gonna go in and, oops, why did I undo that? Just gonna go in and kind of go around
what are we trying to do here?
and make a selection that I think is unwrappable. Just gonna create a seam here on the outside. Again, if this was to be a very realistic material, then you would want to avoid this, because if you have like some tiling textures you're using a Substance Painter, very possible they're not gonna align when they're crossing this light map seam. But for the purposes of this model, I'm not gonna make it too complicated.
So it's sort of like, is it like cutting open the butt?
So let's go up.
Like, what's the plan?
Try to go around corners as
Around
little
corners,
as possible,
as
because
little
that's
as possible.
that's bound to get you into trouble
I don't want to get into trouble.
when trying to relax those UVs.
Alright, so what's he done? So we were just like cutting out like slices. Alright, I can do that.
Okay, maybe something like this.
Okay, so we sort of like, by doing that, we can make like panels of shared reality. So once he's gone around the corner there, hasn't he? Kind of makes sense. I accidentally made like an animation of like a little blue creature. What the fuck's the point of that? Okay, so let's just do UV mark seam L. How does that look? Not good. Alright.
Let's see how that works. Now the palette map, as expected, is gonna go fine. And, well, the relax is also looking fine.
Looks pretty good. So what, we're just gonna go around the edges like this? I don't know about this. Oop, hang on. Pardon me, it's disgusting. That's disgusting.
Oh, I don't understand why it undoes my complete selection.
Oh.
So UV unwrapping is not the most inspiring part of creating assets for VR, but it is very important. It's a very important skill to have, especially because you need to do light baking. And I don't know if I've mentioned this, but the UVs that I'm using for these materials are also going to be the UVs I'm going to use for light mapping. Unity gives you the possibility to create automatic light map UVs, but they can produce undesired results, and they're just automatic UV unwrapping.
Very diplomatic. They suck.
At least when you use your material UVs, there still might be some issues, but you can detect them very quickly because you've made those UVs and you know where problems can arise. Now I've kind of randomly created a whole seam there, and I need to close it off at the bottom. And I'm thinking that I am going to accept some stretching again with this. Whoops, that's annoying. Try to use that loop button where you can. Sometimes you go into wireframe mode just to be able to see the edges. Just go up here. Oh, I've accidentally selected an unwanted edge. That just click, hold Alt, and I should be able to deselect it. Why isn't it working? Oh, just needed to look past the polygon.
It's pretty cool. Little octopus situation. So I guess like edges with like shared normals, like which is like the direction they're facing.
I'm just gonna close it up.
Makes sense. Oh, that makes
Like
a lot of
this?
sense. I probably would have done it like in the seams here, but that's this is like
Now,
the
this
first
is
time
the,
I've done it, and
fairly
I'm
large
already
one, so I'm not sure. if
fucking
it's gonna
Mr. Expert already. I'm such
work.
a fuckwit.
But sure. Let's take it. The top part. There we go.
Alright, that's sick.
And now hopefully the bottom will be doable as a whole as well. And that's fine. Good enough. So that's the, let's call it the leafy part. So the trunk part of this, we're still gonna have to create a seam down the middle. So I think I'll do this the same way I did the tree, which means take that edge selection, vertical edge selection down the trunk.
Let's see if we can figure out this relaxing thing. I like the sound of it. Relax blender. Relax bladder. Oh. Free blender relax add-on UV Maya. from the UV texture editor toolbar, turn on the distortion shade. Oof. In the UV texture, select UVs, the UV shell. Tool, smooth UV. Okay, well that's the wrong program. And press Control V to try and minimize stretch. Didn't do anything. L, Control V. Then what? Smooth vertices? No, don't do that. Alright, that's fine. Whatever. Fuck it. Hang on, I'm gonna shut this blind. Alright, an hour and a half to go. Then it's time to work my muscles. First you work your brain, then you work your muscles, then you work your chakras. It's called mind, body, soul triumvirate. Except that my soul, oh, you know what, my soul I'm gonna work with playing video games. Trying not to party. As a way of release because it costs more than it gives, I think. You know, it's a balancing act.
And select all the way around here. Now I didn't show this with the tree, so I'll do that here. I'll just go forward now and do one of these branches, and then unfold those pieces. So just go around the branch, and then I'll select the seam least visible. Make sure it really ends there. Okay. I'll do the trunk.
I love just that I can get in the bush. Being able to get inside meshes is like you get access to this secret world.
And do the same with the branch. And process this bush the same way.
So much work. Fuck me. Alright.
Now for a shape like this,
Good luck on
I would also go in and basically do it the same way.
That makes sense.
Just do these branches separately.
Fucking pretty crazy.
Select the least visible edge. Now actually for this it might be better to select that corner edge. And let's see what happens if I hit the loop. Yeah, it kind of stops where I want it to stop. Right there until it branches off. Let me convert these to seams already. Do this part again. Now hopefully I can do this whole branch in one piece.
Okay.
And here you basically use the same workflow for all these branches. Then you'll have the trunk, and this might be a good thing to show you as well. So let me just close off these branches with seams.
This is hardcore.
Whoops.
What are we doing here, Ducky?
It undoes my entire selection if I hit Ctrl Z. I keep forgetting that. Okay. Now let's also close this part off. Now what we're gonna end up with, because now I want to do that like the main branch of this plant. So let me first do that top part where I select these three, then hit loop. It's not going to go all the way down because it's going to stop here, of course. Convert these to light map seams. Now we're going to end up with holes. And holes are usually also a little weird when you hit that relax button. So in this case, it's very good to have that light map seam connect to that hole. So it can get a little space here. Now it's going to connect to this hole. We're going to leave here, and it's going to connect to a hole. It'll be obvious in a moment what I mean with that. But there are still going to be some holes on the other side that are going to be open. Now let's see if they give us problems. Convert these to light map seams. Expanded selection. Now let's see what happens. Now here though are those two holes I was talking about, because that vertical light map seam isn't connected to these holes on the other side. Sometimes this gives you problems when you hit the start relax button, but in this case, no, it seems to be fine. If it would have given us an issue, because there would have been some UV tension that it couldn't solve, I would just make a little cut to the outside here and here. But we don't really have to do this now. So I'm going to leave this for now. So this would be the main branch, and I keep moving it out of the UV space because the pelt map is going to automatically map it inside of this space. So you would do all these branches in a similar way. I'm just going to move on to the next shape. This is a rock, and would basically just unwrap it like I did the sphere. Now I want to use these rocks, get a lot of mileage out of them, so I'll use them upside down and scale them, and so there's not really an ideal way to put the light map seams. For now, I do think that this would be like the flat side would most likely be the bottom side, especially if for the larger versions. So I don't know if it's logical, but I'm gonna put the light map seams on the bottom. Just select these three, hit loop. It's gonna just like those spheres we had at the tree at the beginning, it's gonna extend to those edges until it branches off. And just the same thing, expand selection, and it should give us a nice pelt, or at least when we hit the relax. And obviously, yeah, this is gonna be pretty heavy stretching. Maybe in this case, we want to have some kind of pattern on the rocks, and we're like, yeah, this is going to stretch just a little too much. How can we give it a little bit more space? Well, one of the things you could do, just create some extra cuts. Maybe we'll just add this. I'm trying to imagine in my mind what that looks like.
So I already did these rocks. So I don't know.
But I'm not Stephen
It's taking
Hawking,
him so
so
long.
let's just try it.
I like mine better.
Now, just created like an extra flap there, which means less stretching. Let's do it on the other side as well. Let's add this one. I'm gonna leave it like this. And I would do it the same way for this one. What I could do is just select these. Then hit the loop button. So now it's going to detach this. I don't want that, so I'm gonna unselect those edges. Let's see what happens now. This kind of gives you the classical way you would unfold a box.
Probably should have done that. Oh,
In a
well.
way it is. So
What I kind of like about
yeah,
this is,
just
it's
to
not
show
like
you the ways you.
it's not like there's no like gospel like this is how, like, obviously you get good at it, you get an eye for it. There's variations on the rule. It's cool. Now that I kind of get it. Alright, what's this bit though? That ain't right. Into the vortex. Fuck me. Alright. That is not right. I'm guessing that it needs a split somewhere. Open it up. Let's say here. Oh no.
you could do that. Now we're going to end up with these smaller shapes, the small flowers. Which is going to be kind of a lot of work, but
I wonder if I can skip some of these because I don't give a shit about them.
we do need to do it.
Alright, Dirk.
Now, I could go all the way around, create 2 UV islands, but I'm going to try to keep it one shape. But I need to go around the edge a little bit because there's going to be some tension there. Maybe this will be enough. Let's try it. And I think that works nicely.
What a fuck. That's not what I was doing.
Do it the same way for all these leaves.
Get closer to
Now let's see how we're gonna do this
vertex
middle part.
blender.
This might be a good place to add a light map theme in an area where we are not very likely to see it. So they're like in between the little leaves. Loop it around. Go to wireframe mode to see it actually looping. Yes. Convert it to seams. Now if we select this whole shape, it's going to give us a proper shape. There's going to be some stretching here, but as I mentioned before, this is just going to be one color, maybe a different color on this little nipple.
No. Focus on selection blender. So if I say that, I'm gonna go that. Nope. Full stop on the numpad. Okay, we're cooking. Alright, so let me just try and catch up with old Dirkster. So I'm deselecting the ones I don't want because it seems to be easier. Alright. UV mark seam. Fuck. Alright, 2L dus 3L dus U dus. Sure, I guess. I feel like it could probably be split a bit further along, maybe. Look, I ain't the expert. Oh, here we go. We're missing a seam? No. This is fucking camera clipping bullshit. Can I get a bit closer now? No. Alright, it's a little bit closer there. Look, just, just trust how he's doing it. So what's he done? He's just like cut the whole thing around the middle. I've made this UV mark seam, UV unwrap. No, hang on. L3 click L U unwrap. Oh, go into the vortex with me. All right.
So I think this is fine. Do that backside.
haven't been showing the whole fucking screen. Oh, that sucks. Sorry, Jack. Look, I'm new to this. I hope this is a fitting tribute to my man. Oh, coming up to have a little breaky poo soon, surely. Oh, come on, Dirk, give me a break. I don't know why I'm so whiny. I guess I just am whiny. Just a whiny person. No, I'm not. Come on. I've been pretty grim my whole life. But lately especially. I think I'm just noticing it more because there's nothing going on. I've definitely got depression, as in I do, from the doctor. And my own understanding of myself and the condition. Which I think I've handled pretty well. Like treat it, cope with it, and do all this stuff. So my quality of life's a lot better, but it's definitely can get pretty negative, which is funny because I come across as a really positive person. Anyway, this is not got anything to do with Blender. I just am fixing the OBS layout.
As one part as well. And of course, a trunk like this. Now I see I should have actually deleted these top faces. I didn't, so we might get into that same little problem. So the problem where we create some tension and it can't solve it. It can't solve the pelt map, so I'm gonna select that vertical edge and make some extra cuts here. So hopefully that will resolve itself. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, that's good enough.
Oh yeah, there we go. So I remember having that problem when I first was using Blender, and I just had no idea what was happening, and now I've just learned enough about how clipping works and just all these different tiny little things that make this less of a terrifying ritual and more of a oh, okay, cool, this is the other end of the pipe where my art comes from. Unwrapping especially was this sort of this almost totemic, I will make these sacred
really
marks.
Need this part, but I forgot to delete it in the mesh, and it's kind of hard to go back once you've already started UV mapping. This is why it's so important to check your mesh properly before you start. But you know.
How we going? 15 minutes. Let's see if I can just
Okay. Now for this. Let's just select one of these edges and create a complete loop. This might be a part we could unwrap in its like completely like this.
Yes, please.
And actually, I'm gonna try it. Still, we're gonna have a little stretching here at the
Don't worry
top
about it.
part, but it's a small little flower, so not really a problem.
What happens if you? Oh shit.
And there
Mhm.
you have it. Now the bottom part, let's see if we can do it
Oh, cool.
in
So you can
as a
seam and
one
unwrap a
hole
bunch of shit at the same time.
UV island. I
That's
keep
cool.
calling them UV islands. Maybe the term is shell, actually, but
Shell. No, UV island's fine. Don't worry,
you
Ducky.
know what I mean. I'm thinking that this should be enough.
That looks good. No, that's unwrapped. Those are unwrapped. This is gonna be my fucking. Oh, you know
And
what,
it
fuck
would be, if it weren't
This
for
is-
these
Shot through.
leaves starting to overlap one another. So how could I get rid of that? Gonna undo that, and I'm going to go in and make a selection here. So I'll do the trunk as a separate UV island.
Hang on, let's get this music.
It
fucking-
worked for the top part, so it should work for the bottom. And it's not overlapping, so yeah, that'll be fine. Then just for the trunk, we still need to create that vertical edge selection. I don't know, I think I made a little error, because I probably forgot that I already had light map seams going on. So they were still here. So now I have the complete part. No, actually I don't. I want to fix that. Whoops. So now it turned green, and now I can't really see if I'm deselecting it. Not really sure what's going on there. But I basically do the same thing. Edit seams, and then hold Alt, click them. So what we should see is that selection taking over that entire trunk, and now it is, so we should have the entire shape here. And yes, we've selected that whole trunk. I'm moving it to the side. Now we have these small little mushrooms. Now these have little edges where it does make sense to select those to create a loop. And I'm going to do the top part as a whole again. Start pelt, stop, relax, commit, move it to the side. Doesn't really matter where, because all these parts we're gonna pack them into the UV space later on. Now there are several ways we could go about the bottom part.
What's the tutorial? Where is it?
And I'm always trying to think, how could I put them in one UV space? Just kind of curious what's going to happen if I just make this one vertical cut. but it does run into problems because yeah, it starts to overlap itself. So I don't want that. I'm gonna do it the same way I did with the trunks of the other plants, which means I'll just do the trunk part separately. So I'll select an edge here, loop it around. Then I'll do this part. Now that one, those light map seams here, the green ones, they're still there, but they're fine. As I'm hitting the relax button, you can see it's trying to bend it kind of back into the shape. But this is the bottom part of a mushroom, which not a lot of people are gonna see, so I think this is fine. Now I'll do the trunk, start pelt, stop relax. And this is pretty much what we would have expected. Let me move these parts to the side. As I said, I'm not gonna go through all these shapes. I'm gonna show you like the basic kind of things that I would do to solve these shapes. This mushroom you would just do the same way you did this other one. Now here's kind of the last object of the bunch. It's kind of a ground cover material, and I think for this, I'm just thinking if there's a way we could unwrap the whole thing. I think again we're gonna do a loop here at the top of the, let's call it the trunk. I don't know what the word would be. And maybe we can actually have this top part be one UV shell if we select these edges, but don't go all the way around, and maybe stop here. I'll show you what that looks like. And it just leaves you with a hole here, of course, where that little stem, I think you would call it, goes into it. Whoops, kind of hard staying focused on that right object. Let me just do this vertical light map seam for that stem on the inside. Again, the less visible it is, the better. And expand that selection, palette map it, and it leaves us with this. Then just go in and do these other ones in the same way. So it is kind of a lot of work, but it's an important skill to have if you want to make assets for VR, and if you want to use Substance Painter in your workflow, you're gonna need to get into doing custom UVs. The new Substance Painter does have some good automatic UV unwrapping, which I've used with varying success. For organic shapes, it's very good, but it doesn't always produce the results you want, so it's good to be able to do it yourself. I'm gonna go in and unwrap all these other parts, and then I'm gonna go back and show you what we're gonna do with all these UV shells or UV islands we've created, and how to pack them into one UV map. And after that, it's finally time to get into a little more fun part, which is the Substance Painter part. Okay, so now we've unwrapped all the parts.
All right, let's see how many of these I can get done. the seam as far as I can tell. Unwrapping you can do later. Maybe I should take a break. I feel like I'm going rat mode. Oh, fuck it, let's go rat mode. Let's just fucking get this done and then I'll take a break when I'm dead. Quarantine has unlocked my superpower of literally never leaving my computer. To work out. I'm just going to coffee shops. So yeah, like this is for me. Like this probably seems pretty meaningless, but for me, this is like super historic because I've like understood creatively the power of these kind of modeling tools and sort of putting pieces together of like how to model in VR, and found it this really expressive medium, but then realizing, you know, you need to be able to give it a certain amount of like proper treatment in Blender essentially before you bring it into Unity, and there's these like things that are really like give you really powerful tools, and then other things that are just sort of like, you know, best practice for how to treat a mesh, you know, setting the scale, setting the thing like that. So seeing this start to finish, I think I'm personally really excited about, because it means I can start, like closing that like creative loop between like VR design and like my Unity work, because I can bring in properly treated assets and they're not all called like Model 01 fucking whatever. Hang on. That's brilliant. And it's just cool to learn new stuff, you know? I think any day where you learn something new is a day well spent. Learn and teach, it should be everyone's mission. So tonight we've got a late show, special guests, entertainment, revelry. So I'm trying to find like ways to unwind during quarantine. Like the classic is obviously like drinking, but I just like don't like drinking anymore. Makes me kind of grumpy. I think like it doesn't really work well with my medication. Classic Alexa Pro situation. So it just kind of makes me groggy, which is a bit dumb. It's a bit of a bummer. But it's also kind of good because it's like, oh, cool. I'm not that interested in doing this thing that's so bad for me. I love the physicality of like 3D modeling too. Like, you know, you've got to like, oh, I really got to get over there, you know? These little fucking mushrooms. Ooh. That ain't right. Could I? Dare I? Funny if I just got really good at this and I just went to work and all the artists were like, whoa, how'd you get so good? Like, I did one tutorial, motherfuckers. But it was the perfect tutorial. To me, this is like more fun than playing a video game. It's the exact same amount of like completionist grinding rat mode shit that like when I'm playing Zelda and I'm like, I gotta get a bunch of eggs to fucking put in the basket or whatever. As high stakes, like if I click a wrong line, that's fucking game over, man. As able to be mastered, like I'm fucking speedrunning this shit. As, you know, RPG brain, I'm like leveling my character up, but my character happens to be fucking me and I get paid for it. As visually and aesthetically pleasing, like this is some weird sci-fi future fucking shit right here. This is Blade Runner. Like I'm under the towers and making my way through this smog. It's like making video games. Oh fuck. Lucky out a save point. Making video games. Hang on. What am I doing? It's not that it's spoiled playing video games for me, but every time I play a game, I'm like, I wouldn't mind making a game. That being said, I've put in a really conscious effort to spend time playing video games and not being like, oh, I'm like thinking about my game or whatever. Like, oh, it'd be cool if I had this mechanic in there. It's like, no. I'm a dummy. I'm playing Animal Crossing, which has been pretty cool, I guess. I kind of went rat mode and kind of got really obsessed with making sure I was like, you know, doing enough. So last night I just went in and watered my flowers. That's my one. That's the thing. It's like, who gives a fuck? Me. I'm fucking. I don't know. I just like doing things right. Not right. Like almost like it's not correctness in the sense of like. It's more like following the prophecy. I'm delusional, basically. If I water my flowers every day, Jesus will fucking come back to Earth and take me to Valhalla to battle Satan or some shit. Just read a lot of sci-fi, I guess. A lot of fantasy. A lot of fantasy compared with combined with like a religious school upbringing. You're gonna have a bad time. All right, hang on. Mate, look at these little nuggos. This is awesome. New Blender is awesome. Like, I just want to make beautiful art and story. It's like this book I'm reading again called The One Thing. I've read it before. It's a bit tacky, but fuck. It's like, you know, what's your one thing? You know, what do you fucking want to do? I guess I don't know. Actually, I'm super like capable of like corporate work. I've got a law degree, which is a good fucking way to get a fucking corporate job, and I've done corporate-ish work. Just can be fucked. I'd much rather. I just love this. Look at this. Look at this fucking circuit diagram mushroom situation. No, I don't want to do it like that though. Let's keep them together. Stay together, you little fucking scrubs. Whatever. Let's get all this shit unwrapped. Let's get caught up. What happens now if we go, you unwrap everything? It all kind of gets put like together, right? So it gets grouped-ish. Pretty cool. cool. See you there. Let's keep unwrapping. Let's stick to the program. Let's do this as quickly as possible. L W clear scene. I don't know how you got that scene, little grub. To web. I'm just gonna do these as islands. Fuck. Which means I have to go like that. Wait, no. Yeah, hang on. Like that. Fuck. Alright. See, I'm battling. I'm getting weary. The hero takes his golden seam. Mistakes made as he slips in and out of consciousness. The vision of himself getting a Grammy for Best VR Cartoon. What is it? A Cannes Award. I want to get a Cannes Award for Best fucking VR situation. That's what they should call VR experiences. They shouldn't call them experiences. They should call them situations. It's a pretty funny joke. I'm going to tell my friend. And so I'm an experienced designer, which is just a made-up job, obviously. Everything is, but I didn't really know what one was. I just started calling myself one. And everyone just took it seriously. Now it's like 6 years later, and here the fuck I am. But I'd much rather be a situation designer. Alright. This should probably be in like the fucking art channel on Twitch. Who gives a shit? Twitch is for losers. Like me. Alright, you are seamed up and ready to fuck. Let's just smash these seams out. Like, who gives a shit? Oh man, I'm getting cranky. Don't get cranky, Sam. So I'm just trying to get this. I'm speed running this. I want to see if I can beat Dirk at Work's score. I'll get this done faster than the pro himself. Literally no fucks given about the actual. Oh, you know what? I do care. That's not true. I'm also going total rat mode, and I'm trying to get it all done in one selection. Right. They're done. That one's done. Let's get this one going. Got someone on the chat. That's cool. How you doing? Isn't it spooky when someone says hello? So right now I'm like following along with this tutorial on how to go from VR to Blender to Substance Painter. It's this awesome artist called Dirk at Work. Basically, always really liked, and they're sharing their like workflow. It's really cool. Though so far it just looks like I'm just fondling a bunch of dongles, but that's alright. Gotta start somewhere. Kind of cool because I normally have a more geometric art style. So it's kind of cool to see the like loop flow of someone that was really cool. Actually, was in VR. Fuck. Hang on. Luckily you can I was in VR following along with him in VR, essentially. Like it was a YouTube video of him in VR, but I had that YouTube panel in there with me, which was really cool. It felt like the future. That like cooked my brain. My already cooked brain. Sing out if you've got any questions. I won't be able to answer them. Oh yeah, I will, sure. But probably not in a way that is useful. Alright. Let's see if I can speed run this shit. Dus. Ah, fuck. Oh, yeah, that's alright. Let's get the dramatic music cranking. Sadly, it's copyrighted. They make these like copyright playlists. But then they sneak in copyrighted songs into the playlist, and I'm pretty sure that it's like the people who own the song, maybe not the people, but like the label or whatever, so that they can then sting it on copyright. 'Cause otherwise, why would they do it? You know, it doesn't make sense. Alright, let's get this done. What if the person watching is actually Dirk? And it's just like, alright, it's time to get to work, boys. This is done in tribute to you, Dirk. You're my hero. Well, I wouldn't go that far. I really like your art. I don't know about you as a person. You seem nice enough, but let's not go crazy. Either I'm just a gun, or Unity. What's this blender? It's just gotten so much better. I'm a gun. I never thought when I was a kid that like literally just being good at the computer would be a skill that would. You know, I thought it'd be like, oh, you're good at the computer and you used it to whatever. It's like, no, literally just a weapon with a mouse and keyboard. But not at gaming. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna take 5. Alright. And we're back. Folks, we are back. So I've just got a little bit more UV unwrapping to do. I thought it's a good idea to have a break. And then we can keep chugging along. I really want to get the Substance Painter one done this weekend, so I'm just going to plow forward. I'm going to take you along for the ride. Welcome to Radio Sam. Radio Sam, where it's always cool and so is he. Radio Sam, a popular person that people like to spend time with. I forgot what I was doing. Oh yeah. This. Let's turn that announcement off. Check the chat. No one there. Perfect. Just the way I like it. Alright. Full stop. Hang on. Alright, let's just chop through this. What did he do? He did them under there. I'm going to do them here. Yep. That looks pretty good. Alright, essentially the same fractal situation going on here. Okay, I'm going to avoid doing the vocal fry thing. I can't help it really, but... fuck, alright, this one I'll have to do manually. Fuck. I'm going in. Okay, speedrunning. Hey Dirk, I'm speedrunning your tutorial. I will defeat your top score. The Sacred Orb. All hail the orb. Alright, I don't think it matters that much because I just want to get to the good stuff. But no, I gotta do it right. Make a practice of getting it right. Even if it takes longer, doing things properly. Well, I don't know, it's just kind of balanced with coding at least, where, like, you know, you don't want to fuss over everything, having it perfect, because you'll never finish. So you want to be able to move quickly and, like, with vigor. But you want to sort of kind of get it right as you go. Oof, that took a fucking long time. It's just mark those seams. While we're here, let's mark Control Z, bit. How many seams do we mark here? 3. All right, depth. Also. And this is going to take a while. Oh yeah, this is going to take a while. Sure, that makes sense, I guess. Thankfully, all the stuff that I plan on unwrapping is like coffee mugs and fucking potato bags. Okay. You know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it on the outside. Let me out of that orb. Okay, 2 down, 3 to go. Fuck me. I never promised it would be easy, but I did promise it would be beautiful. Was that Dirk chiming in? He had a look at the stream before, which makes me a bit self-conscious, but look, I'm not sure about streaming as a medium. Like, it's obviously awesome for the right stuff and the right personality types. I don't know if I'm that one. I just like, I don't know. I guess I just wanted to find a way to share my work and my journey through learning this kind of stuff and getting better and exploring. Thought it could be interesting, but yeah, you know. Like, I guess the cool thing isn't actually about the stream itself, is that I come at the end of it, like without even really having to do much work. I've got these like kind of process videos, which, you know, I might be grateful for later, or people might stumble over. And then it's like, do people need to stumble over my work? You know, what's the point of that? Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's been a long week. Made all the longer by my decision to stream for, how long am I going to do this for? Well, to the end of the month. I think that's pretty good. It's a pretty good goal. So, nearly done. Then I'll revisit it. Probably just do it less. Because it definitely like changed how I was thinking about my development. But you know what? The one good thing is that it does like force me to be much more focused. Which is interesting. Cause it's like, oh shit, I gotta get switched on. People watching just like, is he gonna start crying? Yes. It's a beautiful day and I'm fucking doing this dumb shit. No, I love doing it. But I am going to tools down, no computers, in about an hour. And that's it for the week. I had a complete day off computers on Sunday last week, and it was fucking a game changer. And after this is done, I'm gonna computers down, tools down at least, but then like play games with my friend, and stream that. Cause fucking, I'm just convinced that streaming is like the new podcast, right? It's even better, cause it's like less work. I'm sure there's heaps of work, I just don't do it, and that's why no one's watching. All right, one more to go. Come on, you son of a bitch. Is that adult content? Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Dad, I did adult content on my stream. What I don't get is, like, one day, like, only once, I got 11,000 viewers, and now ever since then I've just been hooked. Like, I want to get that rush again. It keeps happening. I keep peaking too early with stuff. You get like one big success, and then that's why it's like you've got to be focused on like value and action, not on goals. I think personally, because you can, if you're living within your values, you get reward consistently. You know, your dopamine is like geared to be delivered based on like, yes, this is right. You know, this is the right way to, you know, I'm spending my time creatively. That's what matters, not the. Then again, I saw another thing, someone talking about like focusing on outcomes, not inputs and outputs. No, outputs, not inputs or something. I don't know. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, yeah, should we be, if your output is enough, good, you know, maybe it doesn't matter what your input is. But I don't reckon. I reckon, like, as long as you make sure that what your, you know, your values do reflect, you know, your goals, I guess, and your, well, not your goals. Well, there we go. It's like the circular logic. Like, you don't need goals as long as your values reflect your goals. Like what you want out of life. Which, is that a goal? I don't know. Alright, I'll tell you what. My goal is to make, I don't know, capture the melancholic beauty I see in the world. How's that? How's that for a fucking goal? Mm-hmm. So what if that's all like to scale? Looks a lot better. Okay, alright, we fucking made it. We made it. Oh, alright. Alright, we missed something here. What's this? Something is not right. L, nope. L, A, L, what's going on there? Hang on, I must have, don't know, not done it, I guess. Got distracted, ran home to mama. I'm just looking for one weird looking bit. I reckon my money's on this guy. Oh no, okay, that's good. Oh no, it is. Yeah, right. Coulda. 3L. Alright, so it's this guy here. What's up, buddy? I need the old splitteroonie, do you? Alright, well, you come to the right place. Cool, that's pretty good. Alright, let's get that Dirk. Let's call Dirk back up to the stand. How do you plead? I've lost the window. Okay. There we go.
Parts in the scene. I'm gonna open my UV editor. And this leaves me with all the parts scattered around, and I was consistently moving every part that I had unwrapped outside of the UV space. The reason I did that, because then I can easily select everything within this space and see if I missed anything. Because everything that wasn't unwrapped would be somewhere within this space, probably like super small in that corner. But as you can see, nothing is red, nothing is selected, so I've effectively unwrapped all the parts.
Fuck yeah, we did it, Dirky.
Now what I need to do is pack these UVs. So I do Ctrl A, select them all, go to Tools, Pack UVs. And
UVs. Blender. Okay, where's he going? Alright, so just UVs. No surprises, it's in the menu for the stuff. Pack islands. Well, they're already packed. So, alright, cool.
And here's the rescale clusters, which is going to rescale them with the appropriate size with regards to how big they are in this scene. That's why it's important that these scenes have the appropriate scale with regards to one another, because that's going to define how much texture space they're going to use.
Oh no.
For now, I'm also going to turn on rotate clusters and fill holes, because the actual direction of the UV map is not that important to me. It would be important if you're going to texture something like wooden planks, then it's very useful to have them all in the same direction. But for this, it's not that important. So I'm going to turn on that rotate clusters and also fill holes, because sometimes you have like big holes and they can put 3ds Max can pack UV islands in those holes. It's not going to happen in this case because we only have very small holes, but those are two options you can play around with. The rest of the settings are fine. We hit OK. All the UVs are now packed into the space, and this is fine. There's still something we have to do, because it's still one object. I'm going to add a edit poly to the stack, and I'm just going to select the different elements. It's very important not to mess around with your polys at this stage, because that's going to break your UV map. But if you just do this, just select a bunch and then detach, and then do that for every object you want detached, then it's still going to preserve those UVs.
Anyone doing Blender at home, you can select how we've been selecting, and then P separates.
Now for this, because I want to have these leaves separate, I'm going to detach them all.
Why?
And for the tree, we can decide. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna detach these also separately. This way, we can use some of these spheres and duplicate them. Maybe some have fallen to the ground. There is going to be some ambient occlusion once we put it through Substance Painter at the bottom, but that might actually be a good thing. That will just be the side we use to put it on the ground. Okay, now we've detached all these parts. This object we have now is actually an empty object. Doesn't really hold any information. I'm not sure if it's okay for me to delete it. I'm gonna do Control I, invert selection, and then I select all the objects. 21 objects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, checks out. And now we just need to go to Hierarchy, Effect Pivot Only, Center to Object. Now all the pivots are centered to the objects, which makes it much easier to move them around after we've imported them in Unity.
Alright, this seems important. I struggle with this. So let's go into object mode, I guess, which is this mode. Firstly, we can delete that, right? Delete. There's one other one we can delete. Get out of here. Get out of here.
And you export this in total as this object we have now is actually an empty object. Doesn't really hold any information. I'm not sure if it's okay. And now we just need to go to Hierarchy, Effect Pivot Only, Center to Object. Now all the pivots are centered to the objects, which makes it much easier to
So I know how to do it by gets to the middle. Origin to 3D cursor, yeah, right. It's the old chestnut. Where's the center? Well, it's obviously in the middle. What is it? Control Alt Shift C or something. It's like maybe it's got to be in fucking bullshit mode. No. The old chestnut, eh? If your pivot point is far off the object origin in object mode. Alright, layout. Can we delete this animation? Nah, fuck. Fuck out of here. Whatever. Okay, so I'm in object mode, view object, set origin to okay, yeah, let's just do that. Objects, set origin to geometry, origin to center of mass, origin to geometry. Alright. How can you show the widgets? I guess no, yeah, okay, cool. I think that's fine.
Move them around after we've imported them in Unity. Now we've selected all these objects and you export this in total as, go to export selected and export this as an FBX. I'll call this the Flora tutorial stuff. Now this part is done, and now we're going to open it up in Substance Painter. We're going to put some materials on it.
Alright guys, welcome back to my channel.
Let's have a look at how big the Substance Painter video is, but I think that might be me done for the day. Pretty good stream. One viewer that was the highlight. I scared him off, of course. That's fine. Let's have a look at where this next what am I looking at here? The Substance Painter tutorial. Look, creating materials in Substance Painter. How long is this one? This is the one I want to know. Alright, it's a big one. Alright, I'm going to take a break. That's it. Done. Thanks.